Welcome back to Spoilers, everybody. For those that don't know, I am from New Jersey. It used to be known as the land of Springsteen. Now it's known as the land of Snooki, man. Only thing that takes the sting out of all that is knowing that the guy that wrote tonight's movie is also from New Jersey. He was born and raised in Teaneck, New Jersey, man. He gave Prometheus flight. In the next Star Trek movie, he's given the Enterprise flight. And in Lost, he took the flight away from everybody. Give it up, ladies and gentlemen, for writer, producer, rock star, Damon Lindelof. You look so tiny in it. It's adorable. All right, here's the thing.
Just like the one I have at home.
We were talking about Lost. You just mentioned Lost. We mentioned Lost before. I'm sure you meet people in life who come up to you and they're like, what did that mean? What was it about? Blah, blah, blah. Explain Lost. I will never be that guy, but I will say to you, you made it really much harder to be a fat guy on planes. I'll tell you that much. How did you wind up working on Lost? You said like you got the job and there were other people there, but how did that happen?
Yeah, I was trying to get a job on Alias because I was obsessed with that show.
Really?
And,
wasn't it a dope show,
it was
man?
awesome.
Particularly season 1, when you saw Alias, you were just like, oh my Lord, somebody cracked the code and they put a movie on TV every week.
And I was just going on television without pity, and I had all these theories about Rambaldi and et cetera. I just wanted to completely and totally geek out on JJ.
So you were a dude on a message board?
Yes, that's right. I tried to use the Force for good. It was always just trying to figure stuff out, not hating on stuff. And it was Whedon stuff and JJ stuff that I was completely and totally into, genre TV. So
because of the chat room? J.J. Abrams like, hey, if you think you could do better, and you're like, I can.
No, not remotely. I have a buddy named Heather Caden, and she's an exec at ABC. I've been stalking her, basically get me in a room with JJ any way that you can, so I can convince him to hire me. She calls me up and she says, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is I got you the meeting with JJ. The bad news is it's not about Alias. It's about this stupid pilot that Lloyd Braun, who is the head of ABC, wants to do about a plane that crashes on an island. He wants to do Survivor, the drama series. It's sort of like an inside joke here at ABC. JJ doesn't want to do it, but we've got him here in a huge overall deal. So you get in the room on the auspices of talking about the stupid plane crash show. You impress JJ, he gives you a job on Alias.
That was the plan.
That was the plan. And I was like, but if I'm going to impress him, I have to have some ideas about the stupid plane crash show. Right. So over the course of the weekend, I started thinking that we could do nonlinear storytelling, flashback-based. The island could be kind of crazy. We'll just start with the guy waking up in the jungle, and I'll just pitch JJ those ideas, and then we'll start talking about Alias.
Okay.
And I went in, and I was wearing my Bantha Tracks t-shirt, and he was like, hey, Bantha Tracks. And we talked about Star Wars for 40 minutes. And
he saw that, so that was the moment he's like, oh, you're a geek like me.
Exactly.
That's the way JJ talks, like, oh, you like Star Wars. I like Star Wars, too.
It's totally true. And what's great is we cross that divide from I worship you and I want to do what you do to suddenly we're peers, like on this equal ground. So it's crazy. And I had that experience with him. Then I pitched him my ideas. Then then he said, and the island itself should be really strange. Like they should find this hatch and there should be other people on the island. And there should be like animals on the island that don't belong there. And then suddenly I was like, am I doing the crazy, stupid plane crash show with J.J. Abrams? And he's like, do you want to come back tomorrow? And that was a Monday.
So adorable. He's like, you want to come back tomorrow and make up dumb ideas for this plane show nobody wants to do?
Yeah, let's just sit in the treehouse. And so by Friday, we had worked out this 22-page outline. We sent it into ABC, and they greenlit the show off of that. We were in production in Hawaii 3 weeks later. And then 8 weeks after that, we handed them the 2-hour pilot. So we shot a movie, and you know, you do this all the time.
Yeah.
But,
well, not like that, though. You shot a good movie.
Yeah, well, I love your movies.
How do you go from Lost to eventually writing Prometheus, working side by side with Ridley Scott?
So Lost, we did for 6 years, and during that time, I couldn't do any movies because it's a 70-hour-a-week gig. We did 121 hours of Lost. Ooh. So the first gig that I was up for was the Prometheus job. So Lost ended, I went to Italy and hid for a month. And then after that, I came back and I got a call. I was driving down Ventura Boulevard in the Valley, and my agent was like, Ridley Scott's gonna call you in 5 minutes. Are you available? And I slammed on the brakes in my car, because that's what you do, you know? And I pulled over, and Ridley called me, and he was like, hey, dude, I'm sending you a script. Let me know what you think. And I was like, Ridley Scott thinks he knows me. He probably thinks I'm someone else, but I'm just gonna roll with this.
He was like, who am I talking? He's Damon Lindelof. I thought this was Matt Damon.
Exactly, yeah. Because, you know, I'm sure you've met guys like Ridley, and they're not like, hello, Ridley Scott, nice to meet you. I'm a big fan. They're just like, let's just cut to the chase. And so
I'm just shocked that he said dude.
yeah, he calls me dude, which
Does he
is
really?
yeah.
Does he do it in a British accent? Dude.
I think it's because he doesn't know my name, but maybe it's an affect. But either way, so he's like, I'm sending you a script. A couple hours later, a guy shows up at my house. He's like, here, read this. I'll be sitting in my car at the front of your house. You can give it back to me when you're done. And I was like, this is the Alien prequel. And
You knew, right?
I totally did. And so I went in there. That script was written by this guy, John Spates, and I thought it was pretty cool. Like, a lot of the big ideas that are in the movie were in John's draft.
Right.
But it was like, it was very hardcore Alien prequel. Like, by page 30, there's eggs, and there's face huggers and chest bursters, and then full-fledged xenomorphs with the jaws and the acid blood and all that stuff. And so I essentially, I sent an email to Ridley and his producing team and said, look, I think that the ideas are, we should just change the balance of the movie so that the face hugger and the chest burster and the xenomorph are all basically the epilogue. Like, they're the result, they're not the catalyst for the movie.
Right.
Like, maybe we can sit with these other ideas bigger. And it's like, is it a prequel or isn't it a prequel became the big fundamental like question. And I felt like a prequel essentially is the math adding up to the exact result. So it's like, if this movie ended with, there is a space jockey sitting in that chair with his chest exploded outwards, and he's on LV-426, then that's a prequel. But I'm like, why would I want to go see that movie? Because I already know the ending. Like, I don't want to connect all the dots. So maybe when you see the original Alien, you understand a little bit more, but there's still a number of things that can happen. Prometheus has 2 children. One of those children grows up to be alien. The other child is basically going off in this entirely different direction. And the goal of Prometheus was to sort of maybe relaunch this world, but perhaps diverge a little bit further away from Alien, because I felt like those were the ideas that Ridley was really enamored with. The movie's got to make sense for him, or else I'm going to get fired, and they're going to call another guy and say, you know, someone's showing up at your house in 2 hours.
Could you imagine you have to live the rest of your life going, Ridley Scott fired me?
Yeah.
The guy who made Blade Runner
Yeah.
fired me.
Exactly.
Like,
Well, which is kind of, I mean, if you're going to get fired.
get fired by that guy.
Yeah, maybe he, points a sword at you or something. 'Cause he's a knight. Like,
You do Screenwriters proud. You're doing Jersey proud, man. Keep doing what you're doing. It's fun to watch. You're a good guy to talk to. You're way into the social media. I appreciated the podcast for Lost. There's a guy who cares beyond his job. He's not. Some people kind of like, hey man, I make the show and that's it.
I learned from the master.
For you, the show just keeps going. You're just like, no, let's talk about it now. Sometimes that's the most fun part. Working on the stuff is fun, and creating the stuff is fun. But sitting around and talking about it afterwards, particularly as a writer, it's just like, I was dreaming of this stuff alone in a room, and now people can talk about it. I want to do it, so I appreciate that.
And I think a big part of the gig is essentially saying, hey, I know that there are people out there who don't like what I do, or did like it for some time and don't like it anymore. Like, if politicians have to stand up in front of the press corps and essentially get asked the hard questions, we should have to do it too as writers. Like, I was standing over in the wings listening to some of the things that you guys were saying about the movie, and I can't say that those are not valid points or that you're wrong. These are all legitimate things, and it's like, it makes me want to do this job, even more than I already do. And I look at myself as a fan first, so.
I dig it, dude. I dig what you're doing. You come back and talk to us anytime. I want to have you over at my house being a podcast and stuff like that.
It would be my
It sounds
honor.
like we could talk for hours.
I would like that.
Jersey's pride, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for Damon Lindelof. We're going to be right back with the cartoon. Stick around. Great job, sir.